What is up, everybody? I'm NoLucksGiven, and I might be the luckiest player in Marvel Snap. Today, we're going to take a look at my 7 luckiest games on my way to Infinite this season. In this first game, I played in between ranks 80 and 90, and I've got Krakoa with Blob. This is obviously a really good setup, but it's only made better here when I draw Taskmaster. My opponent actually has the same idea here though. They're also going to flip over a Blob into Krakoa. Mine will be a little bit bigger because of the Nico that I set up with it last turn, and then I will also be able to get additional value because of Taskmaster. But where this just gets to go even more gangbusters for me is my Krakoa trigger landed on Rogue, which means I'm going to be able to steal my opponent's Blob trigger again, have a ridiculously big Rogue, and then copy all of those stats onto a Taskmaster. My opponent also plays Cersei this turn, which winds up being really good for me. The blink isn't a big deal. They already drew Arishem, so their Blob isn't going to swap out, but Loki takes the Krakoa card out of my opponent's hand and just replaces it with a random card from my original starting deck. So that means that they aren't even getting this Krakoa value, and I will easily be able to defeat them in Krakoa with this souped up Rogue, and then I can copy all of that with Taskmaster. I did think about using Arnim Zola on the Rogue, potentially winning a 50-50 there, and just sending a massive Rogue to both of the other two locations, but I think this Taskmaster is just going to be a little bit more consistent. My opponent got good cards off the Loki too, a Darkhawk and an additional Blob. 3 Blob triggers for my opponent, only 2 Blob triggers for me. However, that's still going to be enough to significantly shrink the Darkhawk that I gave to my opponent. Of course, we're going to win in Krakoa, and we'll also win in Elysium with a 40 power Taskmaster. All of the other games that I'm going to showcase in this video happened from rank 95 to Infinite, so very close to the end of my climb here. This game wasn't anything super crazy, but we will see this opponent again in this video. But what worked out really well for me this game is I wind up getting priority here with Crown City, just barely, and that allows me to play Eliath into Sinister London for the final turn of the game. So obviously that one worked out pretty well for me. I had to showcase this game as well just because it was super sweet. My opponent used Legion to copy Black Vortex. So now the first card played in either of those 2 side locations is going to turn into a 6-cost card. And we also have Shang-Chi to undo all of the work from my opponent in that center location. I decide to try to spend my energy as efficiently as I could here, which I think means playing the Darkhawk and kind of giving away a little bit of the secret sauce. I could have just played Mr. Fantastic and Sabretooth or something, but I wanted to be able to play Shang-Chi plus a 3-cost card next turn. So I thought that made the most sense. I get pretty lucky though, as Dr. Doom locks my opponent out of Black Vortex, and then I get Orca in the 3rd Black Vortex. I can't just call these locations Black Vortex. In the rightmost location, I grab an Orca. So now I can just Shang-Chi center, and that's really insane. And then I can play Sabretooth for a random 6-cost card into Black Vortex. As long as that doesn't get me a Destroyer, we should win this one, and my opponent will just wind up retreating. And I've got to showcase this game as well, just because Quantum Tunnel leads to some really fun RNG here. I get Cable off of Arishem, and then I also have Coulson and Loki, so a really good curve. I'm going to snap here on turn 1, and I've said this before, but I think one of the strongest points of Cable is that your opponent doesn't know what you just stole from them, and I just stole the most important card in my opponent's deck, even if I wasn't playing Arishem. My opponent is just playing a typical Darkhawk deck, which they've built their entire deck around, but it's also really good against me because I'm playing Arishem, and my opponent has no clue that I stole it, and it's actually really relevant that I stole it because they would probably be able to find it this game because of Quantum Tunnel. They're going to get to see more of their deck than you would in a typical game, but they're not going to be able to find this Darkhawk. I'm going to get rid of the Darkhawk though. I don't personally really need it, so I'm going to Loki that hand away, which gives me an Arnim Zola from Quantum Tunnel, which will send the Star-Lord over into the icebox where it gets to trigger again. Brood is a decent amount of power over in that location, but I'm still looking pretty good here. Now I can maybe like cycle Gwenpool in through this Quantum Tunnel, pump up some of these cards in my hand. And you always play the Gwenpool first into Quantum Tunnel, or you just play your better card first into Quantum Tunnel. Funny enough, I actually don't get the Gwenpool again, but I get a different Gwenpool. You can tell because of the border. The Loki'd one had a green border. So I find another Gwenpool, pump up some of these cards in my hand. I can now have a bigger Brood than my opponent, but I'm actually just going to have more power just playing some of these other cards. I Cosmo their Rock Slide. They play a Rock. Still trying to find that Darkhawk. I got bad news for you. It's not in there. And then on the final turn, I can drop Mockingbird plus Stature plus, I guess, 1 Brood. Still might as well play it for 6 power, but that is going to battle for all 3 locations. My opponent might stay in it here, still trying to find this Darkhawk to no avail. Oh, they don't even go for the Quantum Tunnel. They just go for these other locations, but yeah, no way they're beating me here in Icebox. They do have Silver Surfer, but yeah, still not gonna be enough. And you can see now we are getting very close to hitting infinite. This next game was honestly nothing super crazy. Just getting to play a Blob into Kamartaj is always great, and getting to Leech a Helideck is also obviously really great. So this one was an easy win, but 8 cubes is going to put me just 8 more cubes away from hitting infinite. And I told you we would see this opponent again. They have definitely got the better of me in this game. Quinjet plus Loki allows them to play a cheap Blob, and then on turn 5 they play a Nick Fury, a Quake to move around, Great Web, and then also a Mockingbird. I had another Blob, which is why I stayed in it, but I don't actually think that's the play here. Rogue plus Shang-Chi is just going to be better. We get a 3-cost Blob, and then we get to Shang-Chi them. So that's what I'm going to go for, but honestly, I probably should just retreat. I don't think that this is good, and this is not advice here, but I decide to go for it. You know, whatever. No Lex given. Let's see what happens. But my opponent is going to Shang-Chi my Blob and defeat me in Camp Lehigh, and I'm going to win in the center location, but unfortunately that is not going to be enough. Even with this Shang-Chi, my opponent has won the other 2 locations. There is only one possible scenario. It is actually a 1 in 10 that we pull over the Loki and somehow manage to win this game. Like, I'm not kidding you. If Great Web pulled any other card other than Loki, I lose this game. And Great Web had 10 different cards that it could move, but it moves the Loki, so we are now just 4 cubes away from infinite. I truly just have RNG on my side. I've got Arishem on my side. Praise Arishem, and he will be good to you. That is my promise here. That's the NoLucksGiven guarantee. So I'm snapping. Let's do it. Black Vortex to finish this season off. My opponent got a Dr. Doom from the location, which isn't great for me, but that plus the squirrels, they played Squirrel Girl into Black Vortex and got Dr. Doom, so they're like a little bit crowded. So I might use Arnim Zola to try to like win in Quantum Realm. That could be an option, but I don't actually think I'm going to be able to win in Quantum Realm after this Arnim Zola hits the Apocalypse. 6 more power in Limbo is like fine, but I'm losing in Quantum Realm right now, and my opponent also has Ant-Man in that location. I can battle a little bit. I can play an Angela. That might help me set up for a good play next turn. And this Hobgoblin is good too, right? Because of Jeff the Baby Landshark, I didn't want to play it in Limbo. Glad I didn't, as my opponent dropped the Infinite in that location. And now I can actually battle in Limbo with Shang-Chi. I can throw Goose over in Quantum Realm, or I could just put some points over in Black Vortex. I really don't think I'm winning Quantum Realm, so I think I should just go for points in Black Vortex, and the options are Nocturne for 5 points or Typhoid Mary for 8 points. It's going to be plus 10 and then minus 2, and it will shrink some of my points in the other locations. It means that I definitely lose Quantum Realm, but I'm probably losing that location regardless. I could also Arnim Zola, try to Arnim Zola my Arnim Zola, do some wacky things like send the Apocalypse back over. I don't think that's the play. I think the play here is going to be Shang-Chi plus Typhoid Mary, which is not a card that I thought was going to be good enough. We are up against my opponent's Dracula here. That's why my opponent gives me the domino, roll the die, but live by the luck, die by the luck. Let's fist pump and send it. My opponent returns the fist bump. Let's see what they've got. They play a card into the Infinite. Oh, it's a Mysterio. I think we still beat that. Yeah, we beat that for sure. But what does the Dracula have for me? We're going to lose some power over in Limbo, and it is a Martyr, which is only 5 points, not quite going to be enough. So we just barely grabbed the win. I'm sure my opponent had better stuff in their deck too, but Arishem prevails, and with that, we hit Infinite. Really, really sweet season. Some incredible games. Thank you guys very much for watching. That's going to be it for me today. I guess, you know what? I will show the... well, no, this is fine. This is fine. That's going to be it for me today. Oh, you know what I'll say? Subscribe and comment if you want to enter into the giveaway for variants and gold and a season pass as well. That's going to be it for me. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'm NoLucksGiven. Peace.